Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call, particularly those of you calling in for the first time and those that will be listening to the replay over the next 24 to 48 hours. We like to move quickly through the call, bottom line, the important information for you. We know you're busy people. You have other things to do. We have a standard format. We spend a few minutes talking about the reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar, which we continue to believe is the base currency for these other pre-valued currencies. We spend a few minutes talking about the program we've put in place to assist you, and then we go to a brief Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about what's going on in Iraq today. First, by way of disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of these currencies. We're not advocating either the sale or purchase of these currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves, we're sharing with you the information that we think is relevant. The most relevant piece of information in our view would be a viable window for the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. Despite some of the unrest going on in Iraq today, we still feel that January of 2020 is the most plausible date for the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar for a number of reasons, and we'll get into those today. But let's talk a little bit about what's happening in Iraq, because the primary issue there has been the recent unrest and government protests. Now, over the last few weeks, I've been speaking to my nephew. He did 2 tours in Iraq. He is now a principal in a security company that provides security details for high-ranking military officials and politicians and diplomats. I spoke with him this morning. He said that things have calmed down substantially in Iraq, and one of the main reasons, ironically, is they have finally restored their internet services in the green zone and in at least most of their urban areas. And what this means is that the people are getting actually the important and accurate information rather than the rumor mills that have been circulating simply because there is no centralized source of information. So that's good news. However, the Mahdi government is faced with calls for the resignation of the entire Mahdi government. Now, this is spearheaded by the Sadrists, which is the parliamentary coalition that demands these reforms. Now, we have to remember that Iraq is a parliamentary system. Unlike our system, which has scheduled elections, the parliament can vote a no confidence and remove a sitting government. So basically what's happened is the people of Iraq, spearheaded by the Sadrists, are saying, get your act together right now, or we're going to vote no confidence and remove you right now if you do not resign. Now, Mahdi and the Council of Ministers have responded with a formal reform package. First, that the demonstrators that have been killed in these demonstrations will receive martyr status. And then included are a package of reforms that include massive housing programs for the displaced. And remember, we're going all the way back to 2003 with individuals that have been displaced that basically live as nomads. Expanded welfare network, which would include job programs for the unemployed, expanded educational opportunities, subsidies for the farmers in order to incentivize them to produce more crops agriculturally, reducing the need to trade internationally, and lastly, restitution for families that have been impacted by the demonstrations. So all of these things, even though they illustrate some of the profound dysfunction in the country, also show that the government finally understands that they need to move forward. Now, I know from our perspective, from our narrow perspective, what does that mean in terms of the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar? Now, many have complained that this domestic unrest will necessarily postpone the reinstitution of the currency. Now, that is a possibility, but in my opinion, I think just the reverse. I think this will actually serve as a catalyst to get the reinstitution done, because although the reinstitution of the currency was not part of the specific demands of the demonstrators, it is nevertheless part and parcel of the government fully restoring the nation state of Iraq. So again, for that reason, I still believe, and again, this is my opinion, I still believe that January of 2020 is the most plausible date for the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. That doesn't mean that it couldn't happen sooner than that, and it doesn't mean that it couldn't theoretically be postponed for some time, but when all things are considered, the 2020 budget, the need to fulfill the payment of international contracts for the rebuilding of their electrical grid and their infrastructure, the possibility of a no-confidence vote if this is dragged out, for all of these reasons, again, January of 2020 seems to be the most plausible date. Now, that means you still have a little time to get your affairs in order prior to the reinstitution of this currency. Now, many individuals that have Iraqi dinar are average Americans who have not had a substantial amount of wealth to manage, so they may not be aware of the things that they can do and they should do prior to this revaluation to protect themselves and their wealth, both now and in the future. Trusts Unlimited has put a turnkey program in place to assist you. It's a two-phase program. Phase 1 is pre-RV. Phase 2 is post-RV. Phase 1 involves the establishment of a pre-RV package of asset protection trusts with the assignment of your dinar and your other pre-valued currencies to that trust package. Post-RV involves all of the products, services, and professional referrals that will be made available to you after the eventual revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies. Now, once this has occurred, there are a number of entities that people can establish to provide asset protection. A number of individuals have established LLCs and sub-S corporations. Now, these structures are business structures. They can provide some asset protection, but they primarily separate business assets from personal assets. And the possession of these currencies is a personal asset. In addition, courts have ruled that if a majority of the stock of LLCs or sub-S corporations is held by one individual or a closely held group, those entities can be pierced for civil litigation, making the LLC and the sub-S corporation insufficient for our needs. Many individuals have established an entity referred to as a revocable living trust. Now, these trusts do exempt one's estate from probate and the cost and delay involved, but they can provide no privacy or asset protection, making them insufficient for our needs. Some individuals have established single irrevocable trusts. Now, these trusts do provide privacy and some asset protection. However, if any asset held within a single irrevocable trust is involved in litigation, that would necessarily drag all of the other assets and one's net worth into that litigation, because all of the assets are owned by the same entity. The only bulletproof asset protection that one can establish pre-RV to provide the privacy and asset protection you're going to want would be through the establishment of a package of irrevocable trusts. And the reasons are as follows. First, by establishing our package of irrevocable trusts, you will preserve your privacy and your anonymity, because assets held within our trust package are sealed, meaning that the general public will have no knowledge of your net worth and your actual holdings. Second, by establishing this trust package, you will be able to successfully avoid personal IRS scrutiny. If you're holding these currencies in direct title when they revalue, the IRS will probably spit out an audit. And with the potential magnitude of this revaluation relative to your prior year's earnings, you're probably looking at a full-blown 6-year audit. Such an audit would be time-consuming. It would be frustrating because it would come along at the same time that you're trying to determine how to manage this newfound wealth. And the cost of a 6-year audit would be greater than the cost of our asset protection trust package. On the other hand, if your pre-RV asset protection trust package is enforced pre-RV and you've assigned your currencies to that trust package, you will have successfully transferred the taxable event of the revaluation from yourself personally to the trust. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons. First, there's only about a 10% chance of an audit if this revaluation were to occur within the trust. But second, and most importantly, even if the IRS determines to audit your trust, they cannot do a 6-year audit. Why? Because the only taxable event within the trust will be the revaluation itself. The third reason you'd want to establish this trust package is because included in this package is a specially designed gift subtrust. Now, philanthropic gifting can always be done on a tax-preferred basis, either pre- or post-RV. But in order to avoid a substantial 40% gift tax for gifting currencies to family and friends, you're going to want to gift those currencies to individuals prior to the revaluation. Now, if you're gifting to individuals that you have no problem giving them the currency to exchange for themselves, or giving them the USD lump sum after you have negotiated the exchange, that can be accomplished outside of the trust with a standard gift letter. But if you are hesitant for any reason to give these individuals the post-RV USD lump sum, then you can gift to them through this established, specially created gift subtrust. Because you're gifting through this gift subtrust, their USD will be protected along with yours. In addition, the language of this subtrust allows you to gift up to a certain amount of a currency or currencies, meaning you can gift the exact US dollar amount you had in mind, irrespective of the exchange rate. But because you're gifting through this subtrust, you will have complete control of the post-RV proceeds, meaning that you can manage, invest, and distribute this money to these individuals as you deem appropriate. The fourth reason you'd want to establish this trust package is because it's been structured in such a way as to allow your estate to bypass the cost and delay of probate and the federal estate tax. I'll give you 2 quick scenarios. Scenario number 1, you purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. The day after that, those currencies revalue for $25 million. The day after that, you pass away, leaving your heirs an estate of $25 million. Now this estate must go through probate, a process that ordinarily can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months. But probate is a public disclosure process, meaning that the general public will be aware of the size of your estate, who your heirs are, and how much they each stand to inherit. So if anyone feels they have a legitimate claim against you, your estate, or your heirs, they can simply file that claim with a probate court. And that could tie the estate up for years, and in some cases even decades. And your heirs will have either limited access or no access at all to their respective inheritance until the probate process is completed. Then there's something called the federal estate tax, the tax that the federal government would assess in order for that estate to be transferred to heirs. Under current law, approximately $10 million of that $25 million estate would bypass any federal estate tax. But the balance could be taxed as much as 55%. Now, this scenario is not only unacceptable, it's completely avoidable. How? Scenario number 2. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. The day after that, you assign those currencies on paper to our asset protection trust package. The day after that, those currencies revalue for $25 million. The day after that, you pass away, leaving your heirs that same estate of $25 million, but this time protected in our asset protection trust package. As a result, there will be no probate. There will be no public disclosure of your estate. Your heirs will have immediate access to their respective inheritance, and the federal estate tax will be zero, saving your heirs as much as 55% of their inheritance. The fifth reason you'd want to establish this pre-RV asset protection trust package is for some very specific asset protection benefits. One pre-RV, one post-RV. Pre-RV, this trust package will allow you to circumvent something referred to as the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. Now, what does that mean? Under our system of civil procedure, you can only be sued for what you own in direct title or the value of property at the time you transfer it out of title to an entity like our trust package. So let's take the previous example from before and plug it into a potential civil suit. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. You transfer the currencies to our trust package. They subsequently revalue for $25 million. You begin to live a lifestyle more reflective of your newfound wealth, and a couple of years down the road, someone sees that you're living rather comfortably and decides for whatever reason that they're going to sue you. Well, this prospective plaintiff has a couple of problems. First, he or she better have a very strong case and very deep pockets, because this trust is structured in such a way as to make it extremely expensive and extremely time-consuming to pursue civil litigation. But second, and most importantly, once any prospective plaintiff learns that pursuant to the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act, the only thing they could ever win by way of a civil award would be $5,000, the value of the currency at the time you transferred it to our trust package, and none of the post-RV value of $25 million, there will be no lawsuit. Post-RV, there's a benefit I like to refer to as limited liability stop loss. This protects you from future bad acts after you have acquired this wealth. This protection is accomplished through a strategy referred to as segregation of assets, and this is how it works. Once again, we'll use the same example. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000, transfer the currencies to our trust. They subsequently revalue for $25 million. Now that you have $25 million in trust, you decide to make some purchases. So you purchase a larger primary residence, a vacation home, perhaps a half a dozen rental properties for tax write-off and additional cash flow, a couple of cars, a boat, and let's say an RV. But as you purchase these items, you place each of them in their own separate subtrust to be managed by your master trust. Now, why is this a critical legal strategy from an asset protection point of view? Well, let's say one day you're driving one of your new cars, you have an accident, the accident is clearly your fault, and tragically someone is seriously injured or even killed. Well, the family of the victim is going to want to sue you. But remember, civil suits are about monetary awards, and you don't legally own anything. So the plaintiffs would be left to sue the owner of the car that you were driving. Well, who owns that car? One of your subtrusts, of which you are merely the beneficiary. And what's in that subtrust? Merely that one car and the car insurance policy. In that scenario, the car insurance carrier will negotiate an out-of-court settlement with the victim's family. You will not be involved in those rather unpleasant negotiations. The car insurance carrier will repair or replace your car, making you whole. And this is important from an asset protection standpoint. All of your other assets are safely protected in other subtrusts. Why? Because under the law, those separate subtrusts are separate legal entities or persons, and the plaintiffs would have no standing to pursue a separate legal entity. So your trust package works very much the way a barge would work. where all of the valuable cargo is stored in a series of small compartments. Why? In the event that any compartment is ever breached, the only potential loss would be the cargo in that one compartment. The cargo in the other compartments is safe and secure due to the firewalls, and your barge will never sink. Now again, these benefits are lost to you if you do not establish your trust package prior to the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies. Now there is one other benefit, and it's this. If you are in fact the holder of one of our pre-RV asset protection trust packages, then you will be eligible to participate in Phase 2, all the products, services, and professional referrals that will be made available to you after the revaluation of these currencies. I'll just make mention of one here today. Trusts Unlimited will be sponsoring a post-RV seminar to be held in Disney World, Florida, approximately 30 days after the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. Present at that seminar will, of course, be the staff of Trusts Unlimited to assist you with the management and funding of your trust packages post-RV. Many of our clients have expressed a desire to establish scholarship funds, foundational trusts, special needs trusts, charitable remainder trusts, and even the more complicated 501c3 nonprofit and offshore trusts after this revaluation. And the proper way to fund those entities is with the direct transfer of funds from your asset protection trust to those newly formed entities. We'll also have our tax specialists there to assist you with special tax concerns that may or may not develop after this revaluation. Our offshore specialists will show you that by establishing offshore title of certain assets, you can substantially reduce and in some cases eliminate future taxation on the reinvestment of the net proceeds from the revaluation itself. You're also going to want to reposition assets for a number of reasons after the revaluation. First, we know statistically that 95% of all windfalls, however large and from whatever source, are lost due to mismanagement, inexperience, and fraud. We also know that under the new G20 bank bail-in provision, the failure of banks in the future will no longer be made whole through the general taxing authority of the respective governments, but first and foremost by the confiscation of funds at the accounts at those banks. So you're going to want to get money out of banks and in other markets as quickly as possible. Third, the general global shift from fiat-based to Basel III compliant commodity-based currencies in and of itself is going to create extremely volatile financial markets, and you're going to want a substantial amount of your net worth in real estate and other tangible assets. Now, our trust package is initially a package of 10 trusts consisting of one master trust that will hold your assigned currencies pre-RV, your financial accounts like bank accounts and investment accounts post-RV, and manage your post-RV funded subtrusts. One optional gift subtrust, which can be converted at any time to a standard subtrust, and 8 additional subtrusts to hold assets like homes, cars, boats, etc. Now, this was the simplification of a rather sophisticated trust package that we've utilized in the past for our more affluent clients, a package that had an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. But when we decided to work with Dinarians years ago, we knew that that price tag would be unaffordable for too many. So by basically restructuring this package and funding it post-RV, we've been able to reduce the cost to $3,000. Now, there are several ways you can pay for that. If you pay us up front, we'll discount the price to $2,500, saving you an additional $500. If that's not possible, we do have a deferred payment arrangement. You'd make an initial payment of $525, which sum would basically offset our out-of-pocket costs just to produce and deliver your trust. The balance of the $3,000 would then be paid in $100 monthly installments. We will charge no interest. The only proviso is once the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar occurs, any unpaid balance would need to be paid within 30 days. Now, with the financial arrangement, anybody that has currencies and understands the need for getting their trust in place pre-RV should be in a position to afford to do so. One other suggestion, we do accept credit cards. Pay us up front with a credit card. Not only will you get the $500 discount, but the minimum payment on your card would be substantially less than the $100 a month you'd pay us under our deferred payment arrangement. But we will work with you in whatever method works best for you. One other important issue, the only additional cost lifetime for this trust would be the rather nominal paralegal fees that will be incurred when you start funding the trust, amending the trust, making changes. So this trust package will serve you for life. And again, the only additional cost would be the nominal fee for paralegals to make whatever changes that you choose to make. Now I'm going to go to the Q&A in just a minute, but before I do, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about Trusts Unlimited and why you may want to seriously consider allowing us to assist you. Our trust package was authored by our attorney, Robert Bly. He's been a practicing attorney for over 40 years, specializing in the areas of estate planning, asset protection, and offshore planning. I myself hold degrees in political science, macroeconomics, and finance. I've worked in these areas for over 38 years, and I, along with my clients, were personally involved in the reinstatement of the Kuwaiti dinar in the early 90s. So between the two of us, Robert Bly and I have over 78 years' experience working precisely in this rather niche area, and I frankly know of no firm that can make that claim. Now, Bob and I have actually been working together for a decade in the areas of estate planning, asset protection, and offshore planning, and it has been disheartening from time to time to see people walk away from sound estate planning and trust creation because of the mistaken belief that by doing so, they have somehow lost control of their affairs and their assets. In point of fact, it's just the reverse. Under our system of civil procedure, it's when you hold assets in direct title that you can lose control of them. And invariably, it's at precisely those times in life that you need and want control. If you've lived for any length of time, you've either experienced in your own life or through friends and family things like unexpected divorce, permanent incapacitation, the onset of dementia, premature death and prolonged and complicated probate processes. Then there are investment losses, business losses, and even bankruptcies. The number 2 loss of wealth now in the aggregate, courtesy of the information age, is identity theft. But the number 1 loss of personal wealth remains confiscation through civil litigation. Anything you own in direct title can be taken from you. So in point of fact, the only way that you can manage, protect, and control everything at all times and in all circumstances is through the establishment of a package of irrevocable trusts, and particularly if you have an asset like these currencies that you're anticipating a substantial increase in value. And we at Trusts Unlimited will do everything we can to help you accomplish your personal and financial objectives, both pre- and post-RV, as we understand them. Again, thanks so much for listening to the call. We're going to go to the Q&A in just a moment. If the things we've discussed here today are of interest to you, I strongly suggest you contact us and get our initial no-obligation package. I will give you that contact information when we open up the Q&A. Once again, this package has a lot of information about us, about trusts, about the revaluation itself. You're under absolutely no obligation by receiving this package, even though it does include everything you need should you decide to proceed and establish a trust. You're free to review the package. Contact us by phone or email if you have any questions. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have and help you in any way, and there will be no consultation fee. Our objective is to help you get you the information you need so that you can get your affairs in order prior to the revaluation for all of the reasons that we've stated here. I'm going to go ahead and open the Q&A. When I do, we have 2 quick rules on the Q&A. We take no service calls on the Q&A. This is for individuals that have general questions about Trusts Unlimited. Our clients can contact us by phone or email if they have concerns. And second, for obvious reasons, your name and number must be on the screen in order to participate in the Q&A. So here we go. And while I'm waiting for any potential questions, I'd like to give you our contact information. You can go to our website, which is Trusts with an S, Unlimited, LLC.com. Our email address is Trusts with an S, Unlimited, LLC at gmail.com. Our phone service is 307-274-4122. If you'd like to listen to a recent conference call playback, or if you'd be kind enough to refer us to someone that might be interested in our services, you can either go to YouTube and go to Trusts Unlimited, or you can go to IQD calls and go to Trusts Unlimited, or you can simply dial the same number that you dialed for this live call this afternoon, with the exception of the last digit. Rather than dialing a 4, you'll dial a 3, and then use the same access code, which is 739-394#. If you'd like to be included on our email list, you can go to our website, go to the bottom, and enter your name and email address where indicated. You should be in our email list within 24 hours. Bear in mind that we only send emails out very periodically, pre-RV, but post-RV emails may go out as often as weekly. So let's go to the Q&A. We have a question here from area code 347. That's 347. Go ahead.
Yes, Praveen from New York. I have a question about the situation in Syria. Would that affect the Iraqi RV?
I do not believe that the situation in Syria will in any way affect Iraq. I probably should have made mention of this earlier. The Syrians, the Turks, the Iranians, the Iraqis, the United States, and Russia all have some vested interest in this 20-mile swatch of land in northern Syria. I do believe that the situation there is going to be worked out. It's an extremely complicated situation, but I do not believe it's going to have any effect at all on the reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, that was short and sweet. That was our last caller and our first caller for this afternoon. I hope the information again has been informative. I hope those of you that are listening in for the first time, whether it's today on this live call or through listening to the replay, will contact us and get our initial package. Again, you're under absolutely no obligation by doing so, and I think you will find the information very valuable, whatever your decision about establishing a trust package. We are having a call every week at this time. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen in the next week, we will try to get out an emergency email and have an emergency conference call if we think it's necessary. But failing that, we will be back next week, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And before I go, I see we have another caller, so let me go ahead and grab this caller. This is area code 405. That's 405. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. This is Tom in Oklahoma. I guess I got the 6 before the star or vice versa and found out it didn't register the first time. I actually have 2 questions, and
all right.
I finally found my copy of the trust here, but the question I had, it was kind of brought up by what you said. You said something about the car and the insurance policy being in that subsection there. Would it be reasonable to put the auto insurance in there too, depending on whether or not you change insurance companies?
Well, the insurance companies understand that the car is owned by the trust, not an individual. So that's the issue there. When I say the car insurance company's in the trust, what I'm saying is the insurance company has insured a car that is in trust. Now, all of these issues having to do with the management and funding of your trust package specifically will be addressed the moment the Iraqi dinar reinstitutes. Once the dinar reinstitutes in country, then all of the calls as we're doing them now are going to stop, and we're going to concentrate entirely on our existing client base and making sure we address all of the issues having to do with the management and funding of these trusts.
Okay, I didn't know if you were trying to say to list the insurance company with the car under that subsection.
No, we'll deal with the specifics of, again, how that's done once the Dinar is reinstituted.
Okay. The other question was, I'd asked a question here a while back, and on the putting all the currencies into the trust, and I finally found a copy of this thing, and you'd asked me if it read a certain way, and without having it at hand, I couldn't tell you. And we were talking about I think it was the second paragraph there, or maybe it was the first one that read, these currencies, whether foreign or exchanged to USD, whether currently held on layaway or to be transferred to or assigned to the Asset Management Trust, it is further established that only one trustee would be required to facilitate any or all currency transactions. And that's the way mine reads, and you'd asked me if, and you read it off there so fast, and my memory being what it is, since I'm the spring chicken of 77 years of age. But I was wondering if that would be the correct thing, but you said you would send me one if this wasn't correct.
Give me your last name, Tom. I'm sorry I can't remember it, but I need that in order to pull your records up and then get back to you.
Wright.
Oh,
the first name is Thomas instead of Tom, but I go by Tom.
All right. What I'm going to do after I get off this call is I'm going to go ahead and pull your file up, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and send you, again, the assignment form, and I will highlight the paragraph in question, give you a little explanation on that, all right?
That sounds very good. If it reads the same, that I would smile, because then I won't have to redo it.
Now, a few years back, we did slightly amend our assignment form, but we also posted that form in our email to all our existing clients and explained that we thought it was a little bit clearer. It also had included a line where you don't put the amounts, but you list the currencies you have. So as a precaution, I'm just going to go ahead and just send you, whether you have that one or not, I want to send you the one that we amended a few years back, and then you can decide for yourself if the one you have is appropriate, or you want to incorporate this new one. But as I say, I'll get that to you this afternoon.
You say it does have listed on it the currencies that I have?
No, what I'm saying is the assignment form that we amended a few years ago has a special line where you simply list the different currencies you have. So I'm going to go ahead and just send you that, and you can contact me if you have any questions beyond that.
I won't hold you up any longer, sir, and good luck, and keep your fingers crossed, and I can still wait till the 1st.
Yes, sir. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Well, that is our last caller for this afternoon. Again, we'll have a call scheduled for the same time next week. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll get out an emergency email and an emergency conference call if we deem it necessary. Failing that, we will be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for listening, everyone, and have a great week. Bye-bye.